I had to give a talk this week about profiles of young people. This was at the seminary, Allen Hall in Chelsea. So I did my little bit of research and just to remind myself of these categories. After the war, the baby boomers, then Generation X, that's me. The millennials is the early 80s to the mid-90s, born in the early 80s to the mid-90s. And this category of people born from about 95 to 2010, sociologists aren't sure whether to call them Generation Z or the iGen. Okay, so think of 95. I'm guessing most of you postgrads are still millennials. You're old now, you're past it. Yeah? And most of you undergraduates here, most are born after 95, and you are the iGen or Generation Z. Great. So I did a bit of profiling about this, and it was great fun reading a few books and telling some stories about your good selves. But a theme of all the writing is that in all this period from after the Second World War, there has been a decline in trust in authority, in the meaning and respect we give to authority as an abstract concept and the different authorities that we meet in our societies. You've heard this all before, and you know this, and it's part of you really. And of course I think there's some truth in it. There's lots of ways that our established authorities that used to be on great pedestals, media, church, politicians, business persons, lawyers, etc., they've all in different ways been challenged, and some of them have felt as if they've been completely knocked off their pedestals. But I do think it's a bit more ambiguous, because in fact there are different types of authority, aren't there? Maybe we trust less the authority of law, but I think very much respectful of the authority of experience still. In fact, this is a big part of life and media especially, isn't it? The witness of experience. And we're still very trustful of the authority of experts and of truth and of facts. I mean, science is there on the pedestal, isn't it? Because of the authority of truth and experience and of facts. And I say this as a preamble because the whole gospel today is a kind of naive, uncritical statement. Oh, Jesus comes into his public ministry, into the synagogue in Capernaum. You can go and see it, it's still there. And unlike the scribes, Jesus teaches them with authority. Jesus teaches with authority. And for us to see that we probably have mixed feelings about that, not just to say, oh, it's great, here's someone who can teach with authority, to acknowledge the mixed feelings we have about this. Because we are partly in awe and respectful and honouring of authority, but partly mistrustful and suspicious and sometimes hurt by it. So it's just to have all that in mind. And to see that the authority that Jesus has is good. I'm just saying the obvious things here. The authority Jesus has is a good authority. And we need to get rid of some of the muddle in our minds and to see that Jesus, in all these different ways, is the teacher of authority. He is the one who speaks the truth. Not as an imposition, not as a power struggle, but the truth of the world, the truth of God, the truth of the human heart that we are longing to hear. He's the one who speaks with the authority of experience as a human being, a man who has entered into the depths of human existence and can speak not just to us, but speak for us. He is one with us. He has entered into he has taken on our human nature. This is the mystery of Christmas. But he has entered into our experience, and as the church fathers have said, he's taken on not just our nature, but our condition. He is one with us, And that's part of what it means for him to speak with authority. And he's also speaking as an expert. Now, what's he an expert in, you might say? Carpentry. Well, yes, he was. But no, an expert in humanity. Because he is true God and true man, and because he has lived through what we are living through, he can speak to the heart and the soul and the mind about everything that is important to us at a true human level. So when we hear Jesus spoke with authority, it's not just he is the divinely authorized spokesperson who can tell us the truth, although there is a lot of truth to that. It's this richness of what it means to look to the Lord and to honour him. And what does this mean for us today, so that this isn't just a historical passage? It'd be very easy to read this and think, oh, that's nice. There was this great teacher 2,000 years ago. What does it mean today? Well, only 2 chapters later in Mark's Gospel, Jesus goes up the mountain, chooses 12 apostles, and the ministry that he has just exercised in the synagogue, he hands on to them. He says to the apostles, I want you to be with me. That's the first thing. To share my life. Follow me. Know me. Then he says, though, that you will be sent out to preach the message, and I will give you authority to cast out demons. So this same authority that strikes the congregation, the people, in the synagogue of Capernaum, the authority to teach and change people's lives through miracles of healing and transformation. That same authority is handed on to the apostles just 2 chapters later. And this is what we mean when we say and when we pray every Sunday that we believe the church to be apostolic. We'll say this in 5 minutes in the creed, won't we? I believe the church is one, holy, Catholic and apostolic. It's our faith as Catholics, and it's a very distinctive central faith, that this authority that Jesus exercises, this great gift, this beautiful, beautiful gift, is handed on to the apostles, and through them is handed on in each generation in the church. And this is what we mean by a church that is apostolic. And just so you've heard it once, the 4 meanings in the Catechism for apostolic. It's a very rich term. It means, first of all, that we believe our church, as Catholic Christians, is founded on the apostles. It comes from them. We have a historic continuity with the church that Christ brought together, that he founded, that was his family, his friends, the 12 apostles. That same community is the community to which we belong. It's the same family. It's one continuous line, one tradition, one community. And it makes us very proud to be Catholic. But also it gives us a great confidence and security. How do I follow the Lord? Where is his church? How can I see it? How can I find it? How can I trust it? Here it is. It's the church that goes back through history to Jesus himself. The church of the apostles. The second meaning is we believe as Catholics that our Catholic Christian faith today is the same faith and the same teaching that the apostles had. The same apostolic faith, the same apostolic teaching. Of course, it's changed its language slightly, its form. This is called the development of doctrine. Right? Doesn't mean new doctrines, doesn't mean a new religion, because our whole faith is that Jesus is the Saviour, the Teacher, the Son of God, and he's given us everything that we need for our salvation and to live the lives that we are longing to live. That's Christ's gift. So the puzzle is, where can I find that? That truth I've just read about, that was preached in the synagogue at Capernaum, that faith of the early church, of the apostles, that they shared with Jesus on top of the mountain, where can I find that? Well, that same apostolic faith is what we live and believe today as Catholics. And it's a faith that's passed on through the Scriptures and through the Catholic tradition through the ages, and is supported and affirmed and clarified and held by our Catholic teachers, the bishops in communion with the Pope. Again, it's a great gift to the Church, but do you see the confidence that that gives us? So many puzzles we might have about the Christian faith, about teaching, about what it means, about what is true, about how to interpret the Bible. Well, we believe that our Catholic faith is the faith of the apostles. The third meaning, of course it flows out of the first two, is that we believe that this faith is taught today. It's taught today in many different ways, and above all by the Catholic bishops in communion with the Pope. These bishops are the successors of the apostles. We don't just want to know as Christians that Jesus taught in the past. We want to know that he's still guiding us. He's still leading us and helping us to understand what is important. And this is the gift of authority that he's given to the Catholic Church, and especially to our bishops united with the Pope. It's the authority of the Church, it's the infallibility of the Church in certain teachings, and actually a key term here, if you haven't heard it before, it's the indefectibility of the Church. The indefectibility of the Church. That the Church and her faith will continue, one, united, true, through the generations, and that we are part of that today. And fourth, the last meaning, if you're making a mental note, that the Church to be apostolic is all of us. It's not just the bishops, it's all of us in our mission to spread the gospel and to be apostles. Remember, when you were baptized, you were anointed to be priest, king, shepherd, and to be prophet. And part of your vocation as a Christian is not to sit back and look at the church doing its thing and look at the bishops and the Pope doing their teaching. It's for you to share your faith with others and to be an apostle in your world, in your family, in your situation. All of us, in different ways, are called to be apostles. So, here we are. A simple phrase. Jesus taught them with authority. Great. Okay, but we need to think, what does that really mean and what does it not mean? And we see it means the great gift of God's truth revealed to us in Jesus Christ, and God's love and God's power, and how that is what transformed the lives of those who were there in the synagogue in Capernaum with him and so many others, and that same gift is given to the apostles, given to the church, and is in our Catholic Church today. Thank God for the gift, the true gift of Jesus' authority, and thank God for the true gift of authority that is still in the Church today.